You are now in tune to the Keys to the City podcast.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of Keys to the City. I'm your host, Trevor Keys, alongside the big brother, Ted Keys, and with special guests from Ritz Sports Talk, Jets podcast. If you're a big Jet fan, go check it out. Great content. The Nolan Ritz has joined us to talk some football Friday. And like I said, you could also check out Keys to the City on all social media platforms, including Spotify and YouTube, as well as Clovercrest Media on all social media platforms. So go give us a like, follow, subscribe, or share. We will get into the big games this week, and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Are they legit? Well, we're going to see as they get to play the only undefeated team left after 4 weeks, the Philadelphia Eagles. Plus, close your ears, Jets and Giant fans, a battle between Lamar Jackson, superstar quarterbacks Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, plus Brady versus Mahomes again. Which one are we most excited for this weekend? But let's start off with the game last night and the big, as you've seen, all sports networks across have been starting with this and been discussing, is the surprising decision and maybe questionable decision at the time. I know that he went through all the tests, Ted. I get it. Went through all the proper tests for this. But Miami, we just saw what happened on Sunday. Looked like a freak injury with Tua Tagovailoa having the concussion, calling it a back injury. 4 days later, Tua Tagovailoa gets carted off. So, Ted, I'll start with you. It's a very simple question. I know that they gave him all the approval, and I know as a competitor, as we are competitors, we say, go out, coach, I'm ready to go. But when you see what happened last night, the way that everything transpired, why did the Miami Dolphins start to, knowing that you have a quality backup, a professional, a pros pro in Teddy Bridgewater, you want to make sure Tua was 100%. There's no way in hell that after 4 days on Sunday, or 3 days, I should say, you were 100% after a concussion. So, Ted, why do you think, or why did Miami start? And then I'll get to Nolan on this one.
So let me first reiterate so we don't get into a crazy argument right off the bat. But here's the thing.
Nolan's going to be like, what the hell is going on?
Here's the thing. What happened last night was unfortunate. We were doing a little discussion, getting into it a little bit beforehand, our little pre-talk, all right? It was very unfortunate. You don't want to see anyone go through that. It could happen to anyone, okay? But what makes it worse is what we saw on Sunday with him being slammed down to the ground, his head banging off the ground. He tries to get up. He tries to walk. He stumbles and goes back to the ground, and he comes off the field, okay? We get that, right? The first part was, we should start off the question is, why did he come back in the second half of Sunday's football game? Because he passed all the protocols that are – here's the thing. There are rules in place like everything else. The NFLPA and the NFL have made rules. He had an independent doctor. They have neuro doctors. He passed whatever tests he had to. But here's the problem. There was no common sense in this situation. There was no logic. Someone – and I thought – who the hell said it today? It was on Get Up this morning, but they said, pretend that that's your son or your kid.
It had to be right? Ninkovich, it had to be Acho, or it had to be Chris Canty. One of those.
Acho. It was Acho. He said, imagine if that was your kid. You got to put some common sense and logic. Like, you have to prevent kids from making mistakes. You have to save the player from himself. Okay.
Yeah. He's a human being first. That's the thing.
Tua passed the protocols. He wants to be out there. He was probably banging on the table saying, I'm ready to go. I'm passing the test. What are you holding me back for? Right? Because who knows if something else would have came about if they didn't let him in. He was like, oh, they didn't let me in because they didn't think I passed the protocols. Imagine like something else. But with that being said, last night was an unfortunate thing, right? Why he played is because he wants to play. Literally, he wanted to play, and there was nothing or no one there to save him from himself. Plain and simple. And also, I go back to the original football movie, the movie with Al Pacino, Trev.
Any Given Sunday.
Any Given Sunday. Remember the movie?
Yeah, I
right?
Of course.
Quarterback. Playing through the thing. Like, that's what the NFL is really about, man.
But that's the low point of the. You just said that's the low point of the NFL is moments like this.
We understand it's the most craziest wild sport that's out there, right? There's no more dangerous sport maybe other than UFC. All right, it's a car crash every time these guys hit. They are not thinking about Tua Tagovailoa from 20 years from now when he's 40, 50, or 60 years. They're thinking about now. All right. Coaches are thinking about their jobs. The player himself is thinking about, I got to win. I got to be out there. I got to be there for my teammates. I have to win. When I'm out there, we win. win. That's why we won last week.
I get that.
But that's the unfortunate realism of this whole situation. But that's probably the simple thing. He wanted to be out there. He passed the protocols. But common sense and logic, as I know no one's going to say, and what you're going to argue is, someone should have saved him and said, you know what, Tua, we will live with Teddy Bridgewater for Thursday, and I'd rather you have an extra week and a half or two than what could have happened last night, where we all know it could happen, someone dying on the field. And that's the worst case scenario that anyone would ever want to see on any sporting event.
And no, that's the thing, is that this league predicates and harps on the concussion, CTEs. They've made movies about it. They've been pushing it as much as it can to try to change the safety of this game in a situation like that. And then this franchise as a whole, if you've seen this franchise, what it's been through this wild offseason with the tampering issues, losing a draft pick, this is just a mess of a franchise. So when you see something like this, and a person that you just told us has had concussions, what is your take on this from last night? And, well, realistically, who should be fired? Because it feels like somebody in this whole situation should eventually lose their job. Now, I don't know who it may be, doctors or anything, but somebody could be losing a job.
Yeah, someone has to be held responsible. And I'm going to look at it from a little bit more of a larger picture, unfortunately, for this circumstance. And let me preface this by starting off and saying, I think the NFL has done an incredible job over the last 10 to 15 years to really reduce the amount of concussions, whether it's the reducing the hitting with the casts we saw in training camp. So I do think the NFL has done a lot, and the numbers show that the concussions in the game of football have significantly gone down. However, for the NFLPA, I think that this week could be a huge turning point in player safety, because think about the optics of this past 4 days. The biggest game on Sunday in the afternoon window was the Bills-Dolphins game. And you see Tua not only get a concussion, but get a concussion where he can barely walk, gets the jelly legs, and yet everyone at home, even people that don't understand concussions, basically realize something's not right with him. And he somehow was let back into that ball game. It makes you question.
This too. He came back like this.
Well, he came back in the second half. They went back, and after the second half, he came back out.
But it makes you question the protocols. Now, then you also had, in an unrelated note, on Monday night, you had the Shepard injury on turf, and then you've seen all the players coming out saying that the game needs to be on grass, that they need to eliminate turf. So basically, you get to Thursday night. You've had your primetime Monday game, your biggest game arguably in the Sunday 1 o'clock window, with major player health concerns. And then you get to Thursday night. And even before the game, you saw people on social media when it was announced Tua was likely going to go saying, this doesn't feel right. And look, the Thursday night games, I love them. But there are certain scenarios where you have to understand that recovery for the NFL is right around Thursday. You ask players in the league, is about the time that they start feeling right again.
True. Yeah. I remember listening to those guys. They said they're like Monday you're just dead. Tuesday it's rehab. Wednesday, Thursday you start feeling good. Friday, and by the time you hit Sunday, you're full strength, but you're back to getting beat up again.
Right. And then you see Tua go down on a hit where, it was a hard hit, but it wasn't something that really stood out. And it kind of went to both issues that were prevalent on both Monday and Sunday. You had a quarterback hit his head on the turf, which, again, we've had some people complain about how hard it is. And then you have Tua having that injury, that nasty video of him with the fingers not right. And look, was it great that Tua was able to get back on the plane last night and go back to Miami? Yes. Is it great that the NFL avoided a potential disaster or even more disaster? Yes. But even though this team now has 10 games, it just feels like that the way Tua will be handled the rest of the season, both you are curious to see how it'll be personally for his health-wise, because we've seen so many careers end prematurely with head injuries, but also on a larger scale, the worst thing that now could happen for this National Football League might not happen next week, might not happen 2 weeks, but if Tua in this season gets another concussion, we are talking about 3 traumatic brain injuries in the span of 4 months, basically, because that's the length of the NFL season, roughly 4 months. It will not look good. And then you wonder, because you're more susceptible to concussions once you get them, that this poor handling of Tua might not only impact the Dolphins in their quarterback situation long-term, but could basically have impacted the entire career of Tua Tagovailoa. And I'll even go a step further where I think the Dolphins, look, they need to be investigated about this because this is a franchise that has made it clear over the last 18 months. They don't love Tua. They tried to trade Deshaun Watson. They tried to bring in Tom Brady. Like, they are just throwing him out there, and they don't seem to value Tua as a football player. They just threw him out there because it was convenient for them. If
he wins for them,
but I understand what
it's a bonus.
I know what he's saying is that he's there, but he's like,
listen. I think a lot of times that's how it goes. Let's be honest, bro. This is a sport. This is a business. This is about winning now. This is not because like no one said, if it's not Deshaun Watson, it's Brady, and guess what? We'll draft someone else next year. Like this is a sport where honestly, bro, you're as good for me right now as you are till you can't play no more. Like,
right, but let me ask you this, Ted. But like, let me ask you this: if it wasn't Tua, like, let's say you're the Bills, same exact situation, same exact game. Josh Allen goes down with that type of injury, or Justin Herbert. I mean, maybe not Herbert because of the way they've handled him, but let's say it's Mahomes, or let's say it's
Lamar or something
Josh
like that.
Allen.
Yeah.
And basically, you lose him for that game, but those are teams that they know that those are their franchise guys for the next 10 to 12 years. You don't think that they would be more cautious and they wouldn't put him back in that game? Because look, yeah, we'll lose this battle, but we have to win the war with these quarterbacks.
I'm just trying to think of a situation that maybe might have occurred that I could think of it. I don't listen. To be honest, I don't know. I would say this. Every team might be, in your thought process, correct. Might be thinking, look at the team as a different, entity. Like, but maybe, like if Josh Allen,
right.
if Josh Allen passes the protocol and is ready to go, he's playing. But I think the combination of the way Sunday went down and then a short-term game, literally less than 5 days away, makes it worse. I think if it happened maybe on Sunday again, maybe people's outlook would be a little bit different. It was just looking from the outside in, through the glass, being on a short week playing, it didn't make sense. I think that's the double dipper. That's what makes it worse, I think.
Mm-hmm. Like, and look, I understand
talk about
teams
it anyway,
don't want, right, and I know fan bases don't want to lose, but like if you were to sell the Miami fan base, look, Tua suffered a major injury on Sunday. We understand it's a Thursday night game. We're going to go with Teddy. Yes, it's not ideal, but we are more concerned about the long-term impact of our season and the competitive nature of the season, because now we're in a situation too where it feels almost, I know it's not the best example, but it feels like the Alex Smith situation all over again, where now every time you watch a Dolphins game, you're holding your breath every time Tua drops back, every time Tua hits the turf. And you're basically praying, please, like, because Tua is a great kid. Like, you're like, please.
That's
don't
the thing, is that he's one
injury.
That's one of the things. He's like one of the good guys in this league. And ever since he's come in to this league, it's been, we're going to tank for Tua. Okay, so they ultimately get him, even though they didn't get the number one pick, which we all thought he was going to be. And then ever since then, it's just been like,
Jeff, did you see it live?
Hold on. And then he faces the pressure left and right. And then his counterparts, Justin Herbert. I know he's dealing with an injury, but look at how he's been great for the Chargers. And then you see Joe Burrow going to the Super Bowl last year. And this kid is just like one of the good guys of the league. And everybody's like, well, he stinks. He's not good enough because look at this. And now on top of it, you add this whole other story and avalanche to it. It's just, damn, this guy just can't catch a break.
Let me ask you, did you see it live last night when it happened?
Yes.
I mean, I did not, but I saw the hit.
Okay, so quick question. I'll ask Nolan and then Trevor, I'll ask you. Did you even think for a second maybe career ending? I did.
He got hit?
I mean, yeah. No, because I was thinking.
At least for the year, he was done.
Bigger picture of Tua. I'm going back to Alabama, man. I'm thinking about
the hip injury against Mississippi State.
Injuries he's dealt with. He's a smaller guy. This is 2 quick concussions. Like, what?
I thought it was career ending for 2 reasons. One, because of the head injury, but also, look, I think Miami has tried to move off of Tua, and this goes back to the point I was making. Like, for example, the Jets, I'm a big Jet fan. Zach Wilson probably could have played last weekend, and he had a knee injury, which is nowhere near as significant as Tua's injury on Sunday. But the Jets, they know that their future is based on Zach Wilson's success. Whereas with the Dolphins, with their actions, which
you
always
want Tua to succeed.
I want him to succeed, but the Dolphins have made it clear,
Yeah.
even last year,
But they don't
finished 9-7. He has a 16-8 record as a quarterback coming into this year. But the Dolphins have made it clear they wanted Brady, they wanted Deshaun Watson.
Everybody but Tua.
Right. And to me, this is going to be a potential career ender. Like, let's say Tua has to miss a game or two, comes back, plays well. Dolphins get in the playoffs, but lose in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
The Dolphins, I feel, are going to rationalize moving off of Tua with a couple of ways. And this will be one of the things, is being like, well, he's had injury issues. He couldn't play a full season. He's always gotten nicked up. And it goes back to, like you were saying, the college days. But to the organization to say that when they personally put him in harm's way, where if let's put like hypothetical, Tua doesn't play, they lose last night on Thursday Night Football, but Tua's back, basically gets 2 weeks to come back and doesn't have another injury the rest of the year. This isn't a story, but now because he's had a second traumatic brain injury and basically less than 100 hours than playing on Sunday, it's just, to me, I think this is going to be something big for the NFLPA because it basically combined two of the biggest stories with player safety all in one. And I don't think the turf is getting talked enough about because you saw the Shepard injury. Shepard wasn't touched, nowhere near him. And
he was jogging.
Everyone came out about the MetLife turf and how bad the MetLife turf was.
I still can't believe that happened to him.
But that's been like last year with the 49ers playing
Right.
against the Jets, and then the Giants, we've had people complaining about. It's just like, yeah, two wrongs in one.
But it goes back to the point, too, where it's kind of funny where the owners, they're paying these guys hundreds of millions of dollars, yet it feels like they're not putting the same effort in trying to protect these players. Yes, they'll do it in practice. Yes, they'll do it with the lack of hitting. If you're going to go to 17 games, like, look, I understand it's probably a logistical nightmare at stadiums like MetLife, where I know they like to have concerts. I know they like to have other events there. But look, like, they need a grass field there. Yes, it'll be a pain in the ass to take care of. Yes, it'll cost more money to take care of with two teams especially. Yeah. But at the end of the day, if it keeps your quarterbacks healthy, if it keeps your players healthy, because it's clear the evidence that the injuries are significant more on turf. And to me, this was a microcosm of both, where you had a player head injury issue, you had a turf issue on back-to-back days, and they both reared their ugly head. More so the head injury, I don't think the turf is getting talked about as much because obviously the injury.
But you've been seeing players bring it up recently, especially in the past couple of years or so, since at least 2020 when the Niners had that whole issue against the Jets.
And I'm not saying all turf is bad, but it does feel like there isn't a quality control because everyone kills the MetLife turf at how bad it is. Like, I don't see it like for example, SoFi Stadium getting as much grief. I do think that it's one of those things too, where I remember when we grew up, like Veterans Stadium was basically like, let's put carpet on a parking lot. And it does feel like MetLife now, with not only being the worst aesthetic building in the NFL, is now getting a reputation for the worst turf in the NFL. So it just feels to me like the NFL has to look at the safety of both turf. And if the turf isn't up to snuff, then they have to put grass in. Like, that's how I think they look at it. But this also goes back to the head injury too, where, yeah, like I get, Ted, what you're saying. He cleared the protocols and he was in, and of course, but then you have to question, are the protocols correct? And do we have to change the protocols? Because it's clear that those protocols didn't work. And let's be honest, the NFL dodged a major bullet. I mean, there was times last night where I was wondering, was Tua potentially paralyzed because they put him on the backboard and he wasn't moving? Then it got to the point where it's like, okay, he's got control of his extremities, but how long is he going to be out? And I was seeing some reports today that the Dolphins are thinking about playing him in the next game. And my first thought is,
well, they would be, this whole situation. We're going to keep an eye on this, but the Dolphins franchise as a whole, just making foolish decisions after foolish decisions, I should say. And this one, we're going to keep an eye on it because it's a story that's probably not going away. We just talked about the Dolphins last week because they needed to have a major statement win and playing the Buffalo Bills. And they got the job done. They found a way to win thanks to the Miami Heat. No point intended by the Miami Heat franchise, but literally the Miami Heat weather, as it was almost 100 degrees and the Buffalo Bills were falling like hot potatoes. Cannot handle the heat. This week, it's another Florida team. It's the Jacksonville Jaguars right now. This is one of the major surprises of this short, easy NFL season would probably be the Jacksonville Jaguars, what they've been doing. And I know they're 2-1, but the way they've been winning the past 2 weeks, going into LA and dominating the LA Chargers. Now, I know Justin Herbert wasn't 100%, and they've been dealing with injuries of their own. But to see how the Jacksonville Jaguars have dominated the past 2 weeks, the Indianapolis Colts shutting them out. I mean, they're just dominating on all facets of the game. But they're going into hostile territory this weekend. They're going against the team right now that is the current only undefeated team left in the NFL after 4 weeks, the Philadelphia Eagles, led by one of the MVP frontrunners, Jalen Hurts, and that dynamic offense. So, Ted, when you look at this Jacksonville Jaguar team, and we see what this franchise has been recently, been like a laughingstock, especially last year with the Urban Meyer dark cloud being there. But now Doug Peterson comes in, takes over the reins, and you look like you have a vastly improved team. And that's what great coaching could do. Trevor Lawrence looks good. Looks like he might be emerging into the star that everybody projected him to be. And James Robinson, Christian Kirk, this team's got something going, especially on defense. Should we be taking the Jags serious?
I mean, right now we should. I mean, because I'm going to steal something from Nolan that we were saying beforehand, and then he can repeat it because I know coaching matters in the NFL. All right, but also you also got to have personnel. Trev, we were big fans of Colin, but I listen to all the shows, right?
Yeah.
2 things you notice what you need in football. First, you need a star quarterback. Okay, if you don't have a star quarterback, I don't care how good your coach is. We'll just ask Bill Belichick how good he's a coach when you don't have a star quarterback. Second, once you find that quarterback, you got to find a
protection.
No, you got to find a real coach.
Yeah.
Okay, because the quarterback can carry you, but you still need a reliable coach,
a competent coach.
And then when you have those two, you can build off of that, and that's something special. So we know what Doug Peterson does. He can win football games. He did it in Philly. Now, there were some issues with the management, whatever nonsense. Who cares? He's out of there. Sorry for him. We brought him a Super Bowl. All right? He brought him a Super Bowl with Nick Foles. Okay? And people say, well, the defense carried them or whatever. Listen, Nick Foles, coach.
I don't know. Nick Foles was pretty dominant that
coaches
playoff.
Come up with a game plan. They build their strategy like an architect. They build the house. And the players have to do their job. And they did it. And they did it to the best of their ability. And they dominated during those playoffs. All right? Yeah. So here's what we got. We got a competent coach because we already could see the difference in 1 year from another. Urban Meyer compared to Doug Peterson.
Urban who? He's way gone. He's already tied 5th all time with Urban Meyer for the most wins in Jacksonville history.
Yeah, but he won't beat the lap dance record though.
No. Here's the other thing. And it's significant. And you asked Nolan if he was already doing this. They've hit on their draft picks, Trev. They've hit on key draft picks. Yeah. Trayvon Walker, 1st-round pick that people question. Been a really nice pickup this year. Josh Allen, 6th pick out of Kentucky. They've hit on offensive linemen. They brought in free agents at Brandon Shreve this year at guard. And like I started the conversation off, Trevor Lawrence, bro. Trevor Lawrence looks the part now. Now he looks like he's worthy of the number 1 pick. Because right now, if you look at statistics-wise, he's right there with the top quarterback statistically this year, and he was just voted AFC Player of the Week after last week.
I mean, he had
like the best quarterback rating of any quarterback last week, and there was some really good quarterback play last week. So he is looking the part. The addition of Christian Kirk, like you said, Trev, in your earlier conversation, it helps. You got to get a quarterback. You got to get him weapons, and then you got to have a running game. And it's amazing how much the running game has helped them because now play action.
James Robinson, man, that's crazy. He comes back from an Achilles. Injury.
They have Marvin Jones. I mean, they got pieces. They've hit on the defensive end with their draft picks, and that starts because something as a Giant fan, we have been like screaming, ripping our faces off. Whatever you want to say, whatever analogy you want to use, we can't hit on that damn draft pick. We just can't hit on anyone. And that's part of the reason why we look at our team and like we can't win more than 4 games because we overspend on free agency.
Well, you got to have, like you said, but you got to have competency at the top.
If you look at like I thought one of the craziest stat I heard this week was on the Monday Night Football game that 71% of the players on Dallas were drafted by Dallas. Like that means you hit on your draft picks and they've earned at least a second or come to a second contract. That's significant, bro.
Yeah.
That's huge. That means you didn't miss.
Yeah.
Your pieces worked out.
And that's what Jacksonville's done. But they also has hit free agency. I mean, Christian Kirk, I know that the contract that he got in the offseason, we were all scratching our head, but he's been delivering for them. I know he's not a true number 1 alpha guy, but he's their number 1 in that situation, and he's delivered for them. And James Robinson, coming back from a torn Achilles. If anybody knows, I mean, I never had it happen to me, but from what I've heard, torn Achilles, probably one of the worst injuries in all the sports to have. Well, and for him to come back right now and just look like he's never missed a beat is truly incredible. And then you said it too, the drafting. Josh Allen, Trayvon Walker, having those edge rushers.
Well, look at
That's
their
legit.
defensive ranks, bro. Look at their defense. What are they? First in rush defense at 55 yards per game, tied for fourth in points allowed at 12.7. They're tied for first in takeaways with 8, and alone at the top in turnover differential margin at +7. And they're second in the NFL in scoring differential at +46, only behind the Buffalo Bills. So you put all those components together, you got at least a successful team. They're young. They're hungry. They got the right coach. Now, will they make a run in the playoffs? No, but I think they could have a competitive.
I think this is.
Season and make some noise late in the season that could ruin a couple people's season.
Nolan, call me crazy, but this team has some scrappiness to them, and I think if this team makes the playoffs, this isn't going to be just like a possible. I'm not going to lose my mind and say they're going to the Super Bowl like the Bengals, but. We don't know.
No, I can see them pulling off a divisional win in the first round.
Yeah, this is a team that's very scrappy, and they do.
And they're playing with house money because no one picked them. Like they've been disrespected.
But they do the right things. They got a great quarterback. They run the football. They turn the ball over, and they get after the quarterback. Those are all recipes to go in the
create turnovers.
Yeah, they create. Okay, that's fine. But the all recipes that could go a long way to making. I mean, in that division, Noel,
right?
It's not a good division.
And this is the thing that I think's really exciting about this Jaguar team is, look, we know how great Trevor Lawrence can be. I mean, we all knew like he had the talent, like he almost overcame the dysfunction of Urban Meyer, which was something. It just felt like we got someone competent in there, they'd be fine. And I do wonder how many coaches right now are kicking themselves. I don't get why Doug Peterson was not a more hot commodity, especially on the coaching market last year or this year. So, like, again, I think a lot of organizations are kicking. They're kicking themselves, but I look right now at this team and they do a lot of things very well. They do the things you need to win. They need to rush the passer. They need to create turnovers, but more importantly, I love the balance, running the football. And that's when things like I love the Eagles, but one of the concerns I have is, yes, they're one of the best rushing teams, but they're a weird rushing team because Jalen Hurts gets a lot of those rushes. Like they don't use their running backs in running game as well as I think they
have
could.
A true running back by committee.
Right.
And Jalen Hurts is part of that committee, too.
Yeah, right. They have like 3 running backs, Gainwell, Sanders.
Austin Scott and Sanders, and then Jalen Hurts.
Now, Jalen Hurts only ran for 20 yards last week, but
he didn't need to. So
last week they didn't have to because they scored, 24 points in the second quarter against Washington.
Right. And look, I got to give the front office credit in Jacksonville because I was one of those people, like I thought they spent a little bit too much. Now, granted, the offensive line has played better this year. Do I think it's an elite offensive line? No. But they're going to go as far as this offensive line takes them because while I love Brandon Sheriff, one of the reasons I was glad the Jets took Laken Tomlinson over Brandon Sheriff was because of the durability. I mean, Brandon Sheriff is great when he's on the field, but he also gives you about
pro.
But he also gives you 8 or 9 games a year. Like it's not if, but when he's going to go down. Even their left tackle, who they overpaid for, has
Jawan Taylor.
Yeah,
Jawan Taylor's been playing for ex-Florida player. Ted, he's been great.
They've been good, but they need to stay healthy.
Holding like 2 years ago. I mean, and then what? And they also had the other kid. Was it Cam Robinson? He's still on the team, right? He plays left guard, or whatever. So I mean,
the Giants' favorite son at tight end, too.
Evan Ingram is on that team too.
How's he doing this year? Is he like actually playing or catching?
He's catching the ball. He's catching the ball. He's making strides. He's making strides in progress.
Well, there's only 20,000 people in the home games, so it's a little less pressure. Or they're all in the pool party.
It's not the New York media. You get Jacksonville.
But and that's the thing with Jacksonville. I also think helps them too. Is look, there's no like pressure really on them. They're in the smallest media market. And that's like it's a good and a bad part. I do think it does sting when this team is good that they don't get the credit they deserve. But when you're a team like this, the last thing you want is eyeballs on you. Like. You look at a couple teams right now, like, I'm a Jet fan, but, like, for example, the Jets, like, there's a lot of pressure right now already in year 2 of Zach Wilson. Like, figure out if Zach's the guy, if he can compete, is this the right coaching staff? And look, I feel like Jacksonville, Trevor's going to be the quarterback because it's clear, like, talent-wise, you can see it, and you're seeing it this year. Like, and I don't think they have good weapons. Do I think they have a true number 1? No. Do I think they have a top 5 running back? Probably not, but overall by committee, maybe top 10. And do I think they have an elite offensive line? I think it's serviceable enough, but it shows you how good Trevor Lawrence is being able to play with a decent cast. And like I said, this division, I know Tennessee has had the giant loss, could have gone either way. I think Tennessee, people are a little bit overlooking them right now. But look, if that season starts to go south, will they pull the trigger and go to Malik Willis to see what they have with him? You
Without
have
question.
You have the Colts, who are one of the weirdest teams in the NFL on the games.
That's Ted's boy, Matt Ryan.
No, it's not my boy. I just
overrated ass Matt Ryan.
I mean, they don't show up against the Texans or the Jaguars, but yet they'll play the game of the year against the Chiefs.
The whole team was weird. The defense last year, which led the league in taking the ball away.
I know, I get it.
Right. Where's the running? You have I'm going to take Jonathan Taylor number 1. Where's the running game, bro?
I don't have Jonathan Taylor anymore. Breaking news in my fantasy league. When you start 0-3, you got to make desperate trades.
I had Jonathan Taylor too. Yeah.
I traded
PPR?
for Justin Jefferson. Yeah, PPR. Well,
I don't hate it.
I don't hate it either, but did you also see that Jonathan Taylor, a streak was broken this week? Jonathan Taylor had a toe injury and missed practice for the first time in his football career.
Yeah, Kadarius Toney needs the opposite. He needs to not be on the injury list every week.
But you said it right. Hold on. I want to say one more point, and then we'll get over to our next thing. There's no pressure on this team. Right. Very similar to the Cincinnati Bengals last year. Now, I'm not saying this. This could be, though. We don't know. This could be the Cincinnati Bengal team of last year.
They don't
hold on. Listen. Well, they got a better offensive line.
No.
I know that offensive line last year was garbage. Not say that.
Okay.
Joe Burrow had question marks coming back from an injury. Trevor Lawrence had question marks this year. Is he the actual guy? All this pressure. They drafted well. They added some pieces. They go get Jamar Chase last year. Guess what? They go get Trayvon Walker. You team him up with Josh Allen. You have a formidable duo in the pass rushing game. They added defense. And their receivers, but also they're Jacksonville coming into the season. Oh, Jacksonville, what will be a top 5?
Trevor, let me ask you one question, because I think the Bengals is a decent comparison. I think that they have about the same offensive line, maybe a touch better. I think their defense is a lot better than the Bengals was last year. But this is a great question for Jacksonville, and I think this should be our final point. And this is for both of you guys. If you're Jacksonville, let's say at the trade deadline they're 5-3. Is this a front office and an organization comfortable enough with being aggressive and adding and trying to add a number 1 receiver, going out and adding another piece or two to maybe make a run? I think they should, but they've also been hyper conservative. Will they be able to do that? Because one of the reasons the Bengals made that run is you have arguably 3 number 1 receivers potentially on that team.
That's the thing.
And while I love Clark and I love Jones. But
no, Chark is not there. He's
not
Chark. Yeah,
Detroit. Marvin Jones, Christian Kirk, and then I don't.
Kirk, I mixed up.
Zay Jones.
I'll tell you, I know you guys are gonna think I'm nuts, and maybe just a change of scenery, and we've seen change of scenery makes a difference.
OBJ.
Call the Giants. We got 2 guys. Come get Galladay or come get Tony.
Listen, Kenny Galladay would go for probably this piece of paper right here. Maybe I don't even know.
Trevor, you know who I'm thinking.
No, don't say Denzel Mims. I do not want to hear Denzel Mims. I want to hear Denzel Mims.
Listen, I think you could get
I think that Denzel Mims would be good in a Blue Giants 11 right now, like a 4th round pick for Denzel Mims.
I'm not listening to you anymore.
A second round or 3rd for Tony or.
But here's the thing:
the Florida guy goes back to Florida. Maybe a change of scenery, less pressure. No, who knows? Here's the thing. I don't think they do it because that's not the type of front offense they are. I don't think they trade in. I don't know what team would be willing to give up.
But here's my question. Let me say this.
I'd say I don't think the Giants would trade him.
Here's my thing. Is that I'm just going to say. I'm going to say one thing just to clear this answer. There isn't a true number 1 with the exception of Odell Beckham Jr. out on the market. And then hold on. And then even for a team that nobody's really going to you're not really going to find the true number 1, and no team's going to be willing to trade. So they really don't have any guy on the market right now other than Beckham. So realistically, I think you just ride with what you got because it's working. You got the balance. Hold on. You got the balance with this rushing attack. Eventually Travis Etienne is going to get involved in this offense, and that's just another weapon for them. They already got some solid receivers. I know it's not the greatest receiving corps, but they got some players defensively, offensively. They create turnovers. They got a good coach. They got a quarterback that's starting to understand the game better and better. They got a good balanced attack with rushing the football or running the football and the passing attack. This is a team that could be sneaky. I'm just saying, and it's a true test this week because they're going into hostile territory in that Philly crowd. We know how they are, and you're playing against a team.
We want to see them compete.
Yes, and this is a game that if you want to get respect finally around this league, instead of being the same old Jacksonville Jaguars, then you're going to have to go into Philly and you're going to have to beat a team like this because this Philly team is clicking defensively and offensively and even special teams wise.
I don't know if you saw.
I saw some breaking news, though, that I think is pertinent to New York baseball. The number 1 prospect in baseball will make his Major League debut tonight. Francisco Alvarez DHing against the Braves in the postseason run.
You probably didn't read the report, though. They, who Barkley called after Monday.
I know he called OBJ. I know. It's all part of the plan.
Bro, he's coming back. He's coming back because Galladay.
To the Rams?
No, he's not going back to the Rams. He's going back to Big Blue. He's going back to Big Blue.
He's crashing Rams weddings, not Giants weddings. So
everybody's in LA. Nobody wants to go to a New York wedding. It's cold. It's cold up in the East Coast.
It's because they don't want to play with Daniel Jones.
Well, they got to find out the receiver issue because it looks like Wan'Dale Robinson and Kadarius Toney atop of Sterling.
Again, guys, I'll throw this out there. Denzel Mims for a 4th round pick.
I'm done with
Is he not playing again, Tony?
There's a possibility he's not playing.
What is he hurt? What is hurt?
His ankles, his legs.
He got eyes.
I know. I want to lose my mind too because the New York Giants.
What has he done? What are you doing?
He got shampoo in his eyes in the shower this week.
No, but honestly, what is he? You're not running. You're not practicing. What are you hurting?
The New York Giants just say could have Micah Parsons right now, but we decided to trade back because of our dumb fans telling Gettleman to trade back, and we take Kadarius Toney. Speaking of the Giants and Jets, close your ears because 2 superstar quarterbacks are playing this weekend, and maybe the 2 front runners alongside Jalen Hurts, like we talked about in our last episode. And then you got a rematch just from a few years ago. Super Bowl, what was it? Super Bowl 54 or Super Bowl 55? Buccaneers, Chiefs, the blowout game. Everybody was like the new age GOAT, the baby GOAT versus the GOAT, Tom Brady. So, guys, you got 2 star-studded quarterback matchups this weekend, and 4 of the best teams in this league right now. Which matchup? Is it an easy one? Is it really an easy one? Or is it, or maybe some people want to see baby GOAT versus the GOAT for one last time, maybe, or is it the excitement of the 2 front runners in the MVP?
I mean, personally, as long as it's not Jackson Mahomes TikToking, like that's the one thing I don't want to see this freaking weekend. I mean, let's be honest, like with the whole Buccaneers, like I'm more they're a weird team. I actually want to see the TMZ like behind the scenes of Tom Brady and Giselle right now.
His life right now. Yeah, this is your life.
Like this should be the last dance of Tom Brady. Like this documentary would go off the rails. But between the 2 matchups, I would say I'm more excited for the Lamar and Josh Allen. I think there's a little bit more on the line. And look, I think the Chiefs I think it's going to be a deciding game for the Chiefs because look, they're healthier right now.
Really?
Well, I just don't think the Bucs right now are in a good shape. Yes, I understand their record is 2-1, but you look at their offense right now, they don't have an identity. They're struggling with their offensive line. They're struggling to establish the running game. And look, I just get a feeling like you look at this team that I just get this feeling that what you could see.
I like where your head's
but look, could you?
Same thing.
Hold on. Hold on. Let him go.
The Bucs right now have no identity. They have
Let him go.
Issues.
I mean, outside of pounding it with Leonard Fournette, I mean, because again, we don't know what the health. Evans is back this week, which will be huge, but it doesn't look like any of the other big receivers are back.
Julio might be back. Julio.
Unless Gronk is coming out of the stands like a WWE event, like Roman Reigns, like mid-game, like and suiting up. I look like the Bucs are a weird team because I do love what Todd Bowles has done with their defense, and I am curious to see that. To me, is going to be the most intriguing matchup: is can this defense keep Patrick Mahomes in check? Can they keep this Kansas City offense check? Like, I'm not expecting Kansas City to go score 35 points, but if Kansas City scores 17 points this weekend, do you think the Bucs offense can score 17 too?
With Evans' presence back, I would say, I mean, having Evans back is huge.
But you look against the Cowboys defense, and look, I know the Chiefs are not up there with like the Cowboys defense.
If they score more than 20 points, they win.
Right. That's how I get the feeling where I feel Lamar and Josh Allen could be one of those games like whoever gets the ball last could win that game. I just think it could be a track meet, and it's going to be an interesting matchup too because the 2 weaknesses of each team could decide the game. Right now, the ability to stretch the field in the wide receiver game is what's limiting Baltimore's offense. But on the back end, you have the 2 safety injuries, Micah Hyde, and the secondary issues with the Bills. So you also have the Ravens with a god-awful secondary. So
which is crazy because they have 3 Pro Bowlers.
Right. Yeah, could we see a game that's a barn burner? Absolutely. And really, I think the matchup is going to come down to can Duvernay, can these Ravens receivers and Mark Andrews, who's been unstoppable so far this year, can they take advantage of this Buffalo defense and avert this pass rush? And if they can, I think that this is going to be a barn burner. And look, we're talking about seeding in the AFC. I mean, you can make a case that both of these teams are going to win their division. I know right now Buffalo's in second behind the Dolphins, but at the end of the day, I feel like if you were to ask me now who's winning each division, I would pick the Ravens in the North and I'd pick the Bills in the East. And really, this could be a huge game to determine home field advantage in the really crowded AFC, because this could be a potential tiebreaker in determining if you're get a bye in the first week or if you're playing the 7th seed as the number 2 seed or you're playing the 6th seed as the number 3 seed. I mean, this is it's way too early to say it's a must-win game for these teams, but this could be a matchup when we're looking back at this season, say this matchup impacted the whole playoff picture.
No, and I'm glad you just went off of that, because that's when you started talking, like my mind started rolling. I'm like, that's where I'm going, because if you told me right now, I would say this is your AFC Championship game right now. Baltimore Ravens versus the Buffalo.
You did say that last week. You did say that.
I felt that way. And I said the Baltimore should be undefeated.
I said just count out Kansas City. That was it.
I know. But I just feel like Baltimore now is a different team, at least since they beat Kansas City last year. And they were the number 1 seed last year up until week 12, till Lamar got hurt. So they have found ways to win. And Trev, we talked about the other day on the show. What was it, Monday, Tuesday? Yeah. Lamar is playing better than his best MVPs during his best season ever during the MVP. Like, he's on pace for 4,500 plus yards. He's on pace for 1,000 plus yards. He's on pace for rushing for. He's
on pace for Madden numbers.
That's like when me and Trev play only on 5-minute quarters, and we still dominate. So, with that being said, I'm more excited about this game, and it's only because of what the Bucs are not right now. If the Bucs were loaded, like this was the typical Bucs team, you got Godwin, and Tyreek Hill was up with Mahomes, and like it had all the stars. Like, the way I look at it, Brady and Mahomes right now is AEW, and Lamar and Allen is the WWF when it was really.
No, it's the WWE now. You can't say WWF.
I'll say WWF because that's what I grew up with.
The Attitude Era, baby, the best. The Attitude Era.
I mean, you're talking about the 2 best quarterbacks right now, I think, are playing right now, Lamar and Allen. All right. And no one had said it right. You got the Bills right now. We're missing their 2 best safeties. And the Ravens, they don't really throw the ball well, but he's leading the league in touchdown passes. Here's the other thing. You got Allen on the other hand. He might throw for 500 yards this week against that Baltimore secondary. And
lose.
The way I look at it is, if you're a fantasy guy, try to grab everyone that's on both of these teams, because I think everyone's going to score at least 1 touchdown. The way I look at this game from the outside looking in, it's going to be the Chiefs-Bills game last year, like 35-38. Like Nolan said when he started the conversation, who has the ball last?
Or that Rams-Chiefs game in the Coliseum years ago.
The Monday Night Football game.
And I think Nolan said it perfectly. Like, you look at these divisions, right? We thought the AFC North was going to be a little bit more competitive. Pittsburgh is garbage. The Browns, I don't look at them competitive. The Bengals are there, but they don't look like the same team they were last year. So for Baltimore right now, this is a huge stepping stone. Now you go to 3-1 instead of being 2-2. The same thing with the Bills. They have lost. That would be 2 straight losses. We know about these 1 or 2 losses can make a significant difference when you start looking at week 16, week 17 for seedings. It comes down to both teams are 12-4. And Baltimore has the win over the Bills. That's the difference between having the bye or playing in the first week. And, and with everything going on, these are the games that you look forward to the most as a fan. And for me personally, this is a game that I'm most excited to see, because I think you're looking at the 2 best teams in the AFC, and you're looking at the 2 best quarterbacks right now in football.
Okay. Oh, 2 best quarterbacks in football.
Right now. It's early. It's week 4, but listen, every game now, when people, we talk about baseball, we talk about basketball, but people are like, and that's why I'm not trying to go back to an old thing, but when we talked about Miami, that's why every week and every game does have a significant importance to each individual team. You can't just say we're going to take this week off and rest players or things, because teams don't look at it that way. Teams look at every individual game because, we look at things and we're like, man, if the Giants just won that game early in the season, the game they should have won, like they'd be like 9-8, and they'd be in the playoffs as a wild card, or they'd be 10, or whoever it is. I'm using the Giants because we're Giant fans. It could be the Jets. Like, you're looking at things and you're like, son of a gun. Significant difference. And this is a huge game early in the season that could have a tremendous impact for both teams going forward.
I mean, I'm excited for both matchups just because it's a possibility, just like last week with Rodgers and Brady the last time, that we could be seeing Mahomes versus Brady. We'll see how the Mike Evans, I mean, having Mike Evans back is going to be a big deal. But if I'm the Chiefs, if you could get to at least 20 points, like Nolan said, I think you have a good chance of winning. That should be a really exciting game. It's a Sunday night game. Thankfully, I know Tampa and the state of Florida, the west coast of Florida, has been decimated by Hurricane Ian, but this game will still be played in Tampa.
Now, will Tampa have replaced the Jumbotron operator before this
Oh,
game?
you saw? Yeah, you saw that with the whole Rodgers thing.
Yeah,
Rodgers called out the Jumbotron guy because
he's like, we saw them running that play on the Jumbotron in one of their highlight packages, like before they ran the play. Like, oh, they're going to run that play. So,
oh, really?
They get themselves in trouble. They rat on themselves without even.
Listen, the Jumbotron is not thinking it like that, bro.
Well, look at him. He's just
they need someone to play. They're not blaming Tom Brady. So
gonna blame Brady. No, he's just smashing. He's gonna soon smash. Forget about the tablets.
No, they'll blame Sky. They'll blame Roger's girlfriend, Sky Blue. She had some she did some.
Oh yeah, Sky Blue. She looks like
yeah.
But this game, like you just said it. These two, Josh Allen, Lamar, probably two of the most exciting players in the NFL right now. And this matchup, week 3 or week 4, it's fascinating and this is already, like you said, the Bills are coming off a loss. One of these teams is going to be 2-2, the other team being 3-1.
And in this put up 30 points against them last week.
Yeah, and in this crowded AFC right now, this is a game that somebody's going to have to win. Somebody's going to have to lose.
And I cannot. Baltimore or playing Buffalo.
They're in Baltimore. They are in Baltimore this weekend. But the best quarterback in the world, named Josh Allen.
It's not the best quarterback. He hasn't won anything.
He's going to deliver. I don't care. He's the best quarterback in the world. I can say whatever. I can say whatever I feel.
No, you can't.
We're very opinionated in this country, so we can say whatever we want.
Please tell him he's not the best quarterback in the world right now. You got to win something first.
Yeah, I still think. Look, right now, I think it's still Patrick Mahomes because look, Patrick Mahomes has gone to the AFC Championship game. What was it now? 5 consecutive years. Bare minimum was 4.
I know it's 4, at least 4.
It's at least 4. He's been to 2 Super Bowls already.
Go on the road. I want to see him on the road and do it.
Well, he also earned home field. He's also earned home field advantage for how he's played during the regular season.
Hey, don't worry, it's gonna happen. Buffalo.
Look, I think Josh Allen. Both are unbelievable. I still think that throwing the football, I give the edge to Mahomes because some of the arm angles he's able to do and some of the throws he can make. Look, Allen's got an arm. He can reach anywhere on the field, but some of just the off-platform stuff Mahomes does is unbelievable. But overall athlete, again, Allen running the football.
This is just my opinion.
Completely different.
My opinion, this is just my opinion. I believe that Josh Allen is the best quarterback.
I mean, if we're going off hardware too, I mean, there is someone down in Tampa that's got like 7 rings clattering on the table. So it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to overlook, that elephant in the room. So especially when my team was on the end of his wrath for 20 freaking years of my life. So still have those scars.
Oh, don't worry. Patriot fans, they got the scars of the
Patriot fans should put Mo Lewis in their Ring of Honor or build a statue to Mo Lewis on the site of the former Foxborough Stadium. Like literally, they just need to build a monument to Mo Lewis. Like
Patriot fans have scars of Eli Manning. It's okay. It's all right. It's okay. As long they might have their 7.
I don't know.
But
Are they still on the bandwagon though? Because they haven't been in the playoffs in 3 years.
No, I think that bandwagon's that Pat Nation kind of got a little small. I think it's going to Buck Nation now.
Yeah. They're jumping off the Mac bus right now. The Mac truck, basically.
The Mac attack is taking hit a speed bump and it had a pothole, so they're out. Looks like
they can't keep up with the Joneses anymore. All that stuff. So
I can't. I mean, this will be a fascinating weekend. We're looking forward to that Jacksonville Jaguars game, see how they pan out against the Philadelphia Eagles. Allen, Lamar, Brady, Mahomes. Ted, me and you got to figure out if we're ever going to get right with these picks. Soon we're going to be posting our picks. But right now, as of right now, through the first 2 weeks, we didn't get to do week 1. So through the first 2 weeks, we have a combined 3-13 record. I have a 2-6 record. Ted has a 1-7 record.
Still better than the Raiders right now.
You're right about that. But we will see. We'll be posting those in a couple hours of week 4. Great games. Also, we will be keeping an eye on the big man in the Apple. Oh, not the Apple. I should say the Bronx. Aaron Judge, as he tries to become the new AL home run king, as he finally got 61. We will see as he is home this weekend against the Baltimore Orioles. You could also check out Keys to the City on all social media platforms at Keys to the City. Spotify, YouTube, as well as clovercrestmedia.com. And also you could check out, if you're a New York Jet fan, I don't know if there's a lot of Jet fans down in this state, maybe up north, but you could check out Nolan Rich of the Rich
there are
Sports.
some. I had Brad Jets fan from Florida. Basically, I
Really?
had him.
There you go.
Yeah, I had a monitor. I was like, "Are you still there? Like your couch isn't
still
floating
alive?
down the street right now?" Yeah,
I
like
know.
what's going on is crazy in Florida right now. So
Say that again. It's
okay.
not. It's a nightmare. But Nolan, as always, man, I appreciate it, and I hope to get you on soon enough. Again,
Anytime, guys.
No Denzel Mims talk anymore from you.
I mean, the Giants need a receiver.
We do, but it ain't gonna be him. It's gonna be OBJ. We are Keys of the City.
Hey, Ted didn't answer that question. Ted, 4th round pick for Denzel Mims or a 5th round pick. Are you making that trade?
Not for Denzel Mims. I'm bringing in
Thank
Odell.
you.
Why would I do that?
Thank-
I told you,
thank-
I'm trading my guys. I'm bringing Mims.
Okay,
in.
Odell doesn't come in. Odell's off the table. Like he signed somewhere else, or he doesn't come to the Jet. Like, and you need a receiver. Is Mims option 2?
No,
5th
Edelman.
round pick
Edelman?
He
He said Edelman.
to play quarterback.
We're
He
gonna
can play
play court.
anything.
He can play anything. We need it.
We
He
need
can
it.
play. Well, right now we need offensive line and receiver.
Wouldn't Edelman go to Tampa like way
No, we
before
don't-
going
we
to the Giants?
No, he should just stay in the East Coast. He's an East Coast guy. He's an East Coast guy. Maybe he'll come to the Jets. You know,
The
the Jets-
Buccaneers are on the East Coast. What are you talking about? They're on
I'm
the West
talking
Coast.
Northeast. I'm talking Northeast. They're on the West Coast of Florida.
Yeah, but that's still in the eastern part of the cut. It's oh my god.
Check out Rich Sports Talk. Rich Talk as he's talking. We should just say Mims Talk because all he wants to talk about is Denzel Mims.
Oh no.
He's so damn good. Why can't he play on the Jets?
It's because we got Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore, Corey Davis, Braxton Berrios, or all.
They do have. They have
now.
a plethora of weapons.
I mean,
I would like to have the Jets' weapons more than the New York Giants right now because at least they're staying healthy.
Garrett Wilson not getting the Rookie of the Month for offense was criminal. First of all, because at least
the
he
man.
scored touchdowns. But
He's
no,
the
like no, trust me. You think I talk a lot about Mims? Do you know how many people comment about Denzel Mims like on my channel all the time? They're like, why isn't he playing? Like, is he in
I don't
witness
get it.
protection program? I'll give you this 30-second version. Long story short, he was drafted by Adam Gase to fit a completely different offensive system. He doesn't really fit this system. He's more of a physical linear player, doesn't really have great route running in the short term and in the intermediate, which you need in that West Coast system where you create the separation with your route running as opposed to your physical ability. So basically he doesn't fit, and I don't think he meshed with the coaching staff well. So it's just one of those things too, when you get a new coaching staff that has new priorities and
I don't get it. I don't get it. These Baylor receivers like Corey Coleman, they were so great in college, never pan
They
out.
play flag football in the Big 12. That's why they're not great.
You're right about that. But we will see how the New York Giants and the New York Jets fare this weekend. The Jets are in Pittsburgh and the Giants are home wearing their old retro 1980s uniforms against the Chicago Bears. So we'll check
Not
out
the
that.
whites anymore?
No, they're done with those whites. They never want to see the color rushes again. They don't win. We are Keys to the City. Rich Sports Talk. Check them out as well. Next episode, we are out.
You are now in tune to the Keys to the City